Hi, Cutie Pies. It's Lanickia, and I am coming to you today with a new series on HBO Max. It's called The Nevers. It's season 1, episode 1. It is the pilot episode, so it doesn't even have a title. It's just they just call it the pilot. And I'm gonna do. This is gonna be a really quick review. It's not really much of a recap. Well, I guess a little bit of a recap, but mostly just a review of my thoughts on this whole episode. Okay, so listen. It's not getting great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and things like that. And I get it. The character development on this, like, I don't know who Amelia is. Like, it's hard. Like, even that's why one of the reasons why I'm not gonna do a recap over this. Just more of a review, because when I do like the Handmaid's Tales and even Good Girls, you know who those characters are. Like, you can tell, like, okay, this person's connected to this person because of this. In this, it was like they threw so many villains and they threw so many characters at us that it's just like, who is good, who is bad, and because sometimes you have someone who you think is bad and they end up being good, or vice versa. But on this, it's just like, I don't know. I'm just watching this, trying to keep up with everything that's going on. But I know there's Miss True and Miss Adair, who seem to be the heroines in this whole the Nevers. So it starts out with something is going on. Like, all these people are going about their day. It looks like Amelia is trying to commit suicide, and one lady is going to um, they're committing her, and then people are going about their day, they're going to work, they're just going about their life. Now, this was in 1896, August the 3rd, in London. And then all of a sudden there's something happens in the sky, and they're all looking up. And then 3 years later, and then 3 years later, then just fast forward to 3 years later. So 3 years later, we see Amelia and Adair, Mrs. Shrew, excuse me, Miss Adair, going to this house. I can't remember her first name. She's going to this house to try to because there's this young lady that is supposed to be like Satan's spawn, according to the mother. The father seems more empathetic, but the mother is just like, she's Satan's spawn. She's the only one that could work with the new laws and everything going on, which is probably really what's bothering the mother. So, anyways, so they're going to see this young lady, and so they go up to her room because they like, okay, we'll talk to her when we go to her room. So they go to her room, and she's changed, and they're like, why did she change? And they're like, because of the affliction. Anyways, they talk to her and they realize, like, she's not speaking in tongue. She's not speaking in tongue. She's actually speaking Chinese and Mandarin, and excuse me, Chinese and Russian, and so she's not, there's nothing wrong with her. Like, I guess her, because they call them the touched, her ability is to speak all these different languages. She understands English, but when she speaks, she tries to get, reply back, it's another language. Um, so then we see that they're gonna take her to live with them because they run this orphanage for the touched, and they feel like she would be around people her age and who would understand her more and everything. So she's agreed that she wants to go with them, and the parents reluctantly say okay or whatever. And so when they're going to take her, all of a sudden these men with masks come and they're trying to get her. So Amelia has to fight them off and everything. She gets stabbed on the way, but they get into this carriage that what's her name? It started with a P. Anyways, Miss Adair had this carriage, and so they're going, and I'm like, who is driving this carriage? Because they're still trying to fight these men off because they're trying to get the little girl, the young lady, and so they're trying to get her away and get themselves away as well. So then I'm like, who's driving this carriage or whatever? Like, he's not, like, trying to get some of these men off of them. And so then one of the men that's trying to take the young lady, they actually pull the face off, and you see it's a machine. So that is, we find out, and then on the inside, Miss Adair tells Amelia tells Miss Adair, we're gonna need you to go ahead and and do the next step of to get off of them. We're not going to be able to outrun them. And she's like, the prototype is not ready. But so then the next thing we know, after they've taken down the electronic man who was the one guiding the carriage, the carriage busts open and they go rolling in a vehicle. So apparently Miss Adair is really good with electronics, and we find out later on that her gift is that she sees electricity and she's able to mold and make it. She's able to see where it wants to go, and she can create things from that. Um, and we see that Amelia's gift is that she can see into the future, like she sees danger, I guess, when it's coming. So that's her gift. So anyways, they're able to get away. So they go home, and they're able to go home. And when they go home, there's a doctor there, and he's able to heal. But how he heals is by just hovering over someone, like, because Amelia got hurt, so he just hovered over her and he just did the motion of like stitching, and he was able to stitch her back up and heal her. So we see that that's how they do that there. Anyways, go. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up in 15 minutes. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try my best. So then we see that. Okay, so then they go to Hugo, who's I guess a playboy. He's obviously he's of society, but he's like the type you read in the do y'all read romance novels? Well, I used to read them a lot, when I was younger. And he's that bad boy in society that he might be of society, but he does what he wants to do or whatever. So we see him in bed with a man and a woman and everything, and he has a visitor that comes to see him that we find out his name is I believe Augustus. So Augustus is he's the complete opposite of Hugo. Like Hugo is like this laid back, can probably talk to anyone, charismatic, and Augustus is more very laced, straight. He's straight laced, and he's not as secure within himself as Hugo. So he tells Hugo that his sister has invited Miss True and Miss Adair because they run the orphanage for his sister, because his sister has a soft spot for the touched. And so she has invited them to come to the opera. And so he asked Hugo, would he go with him? And they agree, and everything. Now, I did find it, amusing that or not amusing, but I did find it interesting that when Hugo was looking out the window, the maid that he was in bed with earlier, she came and he said that he could use Augustus. And so I don't think, because of what happened later on, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, I think he has a fondness for Augustus, but I think it's more so as far as him wanting to use him, because Augustus, they said, I guess he is higher in society, and so he's above approach. But so they can't, even though people might find him weird or all that, they wouldn't dare say it, especially not to his face, because I guess he's on some type of level in society that maybe Hugo is not on that type of level, even though you could tell he's something. So anyways, we're gonna go forward. So we see that Maladin this is a woman that has died, and we see a detective is going to research it, and we know that, and he's like, they're gonna blame this on the touch and everything, but it's not them, it's Maladin. And she's, for a lack of a better term, she's crazy. And so he's like, we don't want this being blamed on the touch, because it's her. And they like, society already is not kind to them. And if they think that they're out there killing people, like she's a part of them, then there's no telling what will happen or whatever. So that's that with the detective, and we'll talk about him later on. And then we see that these men, high-ranking members of society, that's all, men or whatever, have gotten together, and they're pretty much saying, we need to do something about the touch. We need to do, about everything going on, because they would like to keep it the way it is. Like, all these women, they saying, are coming out and doing different things, and they can see, it's like they can see that if we don't get a handle on this, women will have their independence, or women will have, will influence other women. Like, when you see a Miss True and you see that she's not answering to anyone, she's doing her own thing, they don't want that. Like, they don't want that to influence their wives and their daughters. And then some of the men, or one of the men in the tables was like, well, I mean, we don't want to start like some kind of witch hunt or whatever. But that's pretty much how the men feel about it. But that's always been. Anyways, okay, so they go to the opera because Lavinia, who is Augusta's sister, has invited Miss True, Amelia, and Miss Adair to the opera. So they get dressed up and they're going. But they want, before they go, Amelia calls out the, dang, did I write his name down? Shoot, y'all, I'm sorry about that. They call out the beggar. I want to call him the beggar king, the beggar king or something. But anyway, she calls him out, and so he meets them on their way to the opera. And he was like, everyone, they're gonna say I'm your little bee because you called me out, and here I come running or whatever. So he tries to intimidate them, but she's not intimidated. She's like, listen, we went to get this girl because you told us that she was there. You like gave us information. So we went to get this girl. And when we were there, we find someone else is trying to attack her. Did you do it? And he won't tell her yes or no if he did it or not. So she tells him, we want to get like touched people, and we want to find out who these people are that are trying to attack the touch or get, steal the touched people. And we want that to be exclusive. And he's pretty much saying, you can't afford that. Like, you can't afford for me to just give this information to you. You have to give me the crown jewels. And then he was like, are y'all thinking about like getting me the crown jewels? Like, are y'all saying you could think about doing that? But anyways, they're telling him, we'll get you money, we'll get you whatever you need so that you can just work with us exclusively or whatever when we need this information. And when he gets ready to leave, he like threatens Amelia that if he'll cut her face up if he finds out. I guess she's double tricking him or whatever. Or if she steps out of place with him, he'll cut her face up. And she's like, this isn't my real face. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Anyways, so then they get to the opera and everything, and they go, and Lord Mason is there, and he's talking to, hey girl, and he's talking, I'm gonna wrap this up real quick, and he's talking to, he meets with Lavinia, who is, Lady True and Miss True and Miss Adair are her guests. Did I say? Yeah. So they're her guests. And so they all start talking and everything. And he and Amelia are going back and forth because he's pretty much saying, we want things the old way. And she's pretty much saying, no, we're going to have things the new way. We're not going to keep doing things the old way. And so from there, they go and have their seats. Hey, girl. Give me just a second. So they go and have their seats and everything. And so then we see. So then we see that as they're going and as the opera is going on, this man is supposed to come out of the floor and I guess sing, but Madeline has actually killed him. And so she's going off about them like she really is crazy. And so on one hand, she's like, what am I doing here? On another hand, she's like, wants to take out her revenge on the society. And so she starts shooting the place up. And then this woman named Mary Brighton, she starts singing and she has this beautiful voice. And when she sings, she glows because she's touched. And what happens is you can see all of the other touched people because I guess it's whatever she was singing or whatever connected all of them. So all these touched people glows, and we see that Augustus is actually touched as well. I don't know what his is, but we see that. Oh, and we also saw back at the orphanage all the different people. Y'all, it was so many different characters. It was too much. And so I know this review was like all over, but it was just like so much in one episode, like the intro episode, that I'm like, dang, y'all could have like broke this down or did some kind of, let us get to know Amelia and let us get to know the main characters and then add on. You know what? Does that make sense? It's like it's just a lot. But anyways, so then we see that she's just all over the place. So she thinks she's like this special, and so I don't know. She takes Mary. So then she grabs Mary and she starts fleeing. Miss True tries to go after her to stop her from Mary, and they get into a fight, and she got whooped. Miss True got whooped, so she did. They got Mary. They end up going away with Mary and everything. So then we see that the detective and Hugo speak, and I think he's trying to get touched girls, and it looks like they're trying to run some kind of trafficking, like because they want girls and they're not making money yet, but they say they will. So it looks like they're trying to do some kind of human trafficking, and I guess the detective owes Hugo or something because he's pretty much Hugo says something about if you're in debt, he'll forgive it. So that's what it looks like it's happening from there. And so then we go to so then we go to just Amelia and Adair coming to. Oh, then we see this mad, crazy man who has stolen someone who is touched, and he's operating on their brains, and he's trying to figure out how how they were touched or what happens. And so, but right now he just wants to see like what triggers pain and all of that kind. It's crazy what's going on with this episode. Like, it's so many villains in this episode and so many people trying to get at these touched people, but they're not even explaining it good enough about how everyone is touched. And y'all, I could see why it was it's getting bad reviews because it's just all over the place. But I also think that if we keep going, we'll maybe understand it more. So maybe wait a few episodes before you start reviewing it as far as being negative on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. But I could see it. But okay, but anyways, so then we see, all right, Mama. So then we see, come on. So then we see that Amelia and Miss Adair are talking, and they're like, we'll get Mary back. We have some time before she tries to kill Mary or hurt Mary, and we'll get her back and we'll be safe. And Miss True says we'll never be safe. And she said, well, at least we won't be as lonely and everything. So that was pretty much so that was pretty much it for that. And then we go to how they actually became touched. So they go back to the first scene, and we see that when everyone was looking up and going about their day 3 years earlier, there's this space looking weird ship that came through, and it started letting down glimmers of like sparkles, and it started releasing something out of it, and certain people got touched. And so that's why I guess they call them touched, because certain people got touched with whatever was released from it, and so now they have different powers and everything with that. So anyways, y'all, that was that. It's gonna get better. I'm hoping that it's going to get better. It's going to make more sense as we continue to watch it, but right now it's just the first episode. We'll see. And then, as they develop the characters, they gotta develop the characters, but as they develop the characters and everything, we'll be able to have some kind of connection to them, because right now it's just like, what's going on? Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and let me know what you thought.